All right, Cousin Tone. Season 2 started off with a bang, and we're just going to keep on rolling, baby. Our next guest is simply next level when it comes to content creation in the hobby. I'm talking hilarious skits, sick card collection, second to none IG presentation. My man even writes articles about the hobby. He's a real one, cuzzo. And I'm, of course, referring to Sean Cates, aka Victory Investment Sports Cards. Welcome, Sean, to the Cousins Collectibles podcast.
Hey man, thank you guys for letting me come on here. Such an honor, and I'm just excited to talk hobby. It's cool to be able to connect, man. I was a Lone Star collector back in the day before IG, before really even YouTube, and it was like you're just doing it on your own. You're buying a card, and it's like you can only share it with like who do you share it with? And
Mhm.
now it's you get connections all over the place. So I'm excited to hear about you guys, how you collect, and just honored to be here.
Appreciate
Yes.
that, man. And that's what's the good thing about IG. We can connect with people. I have a brother from another mother that I call him my man from the Philippines. I mean, he collects Michael Jackson, he collects Karate Kid and all kinds of crazy things that everything Allen Iverson. So it's exactly what everything that I do.
Yeah.
He has the same exact PC, so it's a trip, and the people that you connect with, it's just awesome. But welcome again, and let's get started, man. You're obviously a polished brand in the hobby, but like every one of us, like you were just talking about, you have to start somewhere. So tell us all the juicy details. Basically, what led you to hobby supremacy that you're doing right now?
Man, well, as far as hobby supremacy, I don't know about that. I feel like
You're
I'm
killing
just
it, cuz.
getting
You're killing
going.
it.
But I've been doing it for a long time, and that's what I tell like a lot of these young guys that come in, and they're super pumped about collecting, and they look at the collections of guys that have been in it for a long time, and it seems like, man, how would I ever get there? That's like a hard mountain to climb.
Hmm.
And so then they start comparing, and some people give up
Yeah.
before they even really get going. But man, I remember buying cards like, actually, man, I have cards. This is a card that brought me back into the
Nice.
hobby back in 2011. The
Nice.
56 tops Jackie Robinson, and I got this in a PSA one. This is a seven, but when I came back in 2011, a PSA one was like $37. And then slowly, man, like, I would flip a one into a 1.5 and
Mhm.
then to a two, and then, slowly kind of move my way up. And man, building a collection takes time. And so that's what I tell a lot of the newer collectors. Like, man, if you're getting into it, don't compare, because it's about what you like, and it's about what brings you joy, and what best kind of speaks of who you are. Your collection is an extension of you, and so I tell people, yeah, don't compare, just have fun, and you'll start to see that you can grow that thing over time. So, but
Nice.
yeah, man, as far as me starting, I was collecting as a kid. I tell people, I had the best Michael Jordan collection in my elementary school. And, and I had like, I remember being like, what this would have been like 8 years old in 1990. And
Nice.
I mean, now that whole collection is maybe worth like $50,
Yeah.
but, back then it was like you had
Yeah.
all the 89 Fleer and the
Yep.
90s, 90 Fleer,
The
uh,
hoops.
hoops. Yeah, you had all the stuff that, like, I mean, people would tell you like this is going to be worth a lot someday, and
Yeah.
um,
I
but
think
yeah,
I think everybody at that time was told that same exact thing, and so everybody
Yeah.
held them for 30 years thinking we're all gonna be
totally,
millionaires off of these same exact, base cards.
totally, man. And you know what that hit me the other day, because the people that were telling us kids that grew up in an era, they were older, so they were like, they saw the cards that they had when they were kids.
That's
So
true.
like, they're likely their cards were in the 60s, maybe some 70s, but 50s and 60s,
Hmm.
and they actually saw those cards appreciate, and so then
Right.
they would tell that to us, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't realize we were growing up in the junk wax era. So,
We
um,
got screwed.
yeah. But that's how it started, man, is collecting, trading with friends, and but I don't know if you guys were this same way, but for me, when I was like a young kid getting that Beckett, um, I was fascinated with the prices of cards because for one, I loved them. They were my heroes that I looked up to. I loved stats for sports. So I remember coming home from whatever sports practice and throwing on ESPN, watching the highlights, and then I'd have my cards, right next to me, and I'm looking at my cards. But then these price guides started coming out, and they had the hot list and the cold list, and you're like, King Griffey Jr. You're hoping that the card you got the next month, it's still got the up arrow
Yeah.
on the hot list,
Yeah.
and it was so fun. But I remember trading with like buddies that they didn't have any interest in the Beckett. So like I mean I was
Yeah.
had a little bit
You
of
was
a
hustling.
financial mind back
Yeah,
then.
you were killing them back in the day.
So yeah, I was looking to up my financial game back then too. Um, but yeah, that's where kind of how it all got going. And then obviously, like a lot of collectors, man, we take time off and kind of going into like I really stopped collecting about 1996, right after Kobe his rookie year.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the last really memories I have of buying cards when I was younger, I was about 14 in 1996, and I remember going out and getting a bunch of Kobe cards. I was like, this guy's amazing,
Wait a
and
minute. You were collecting Kobe?
I was, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
weren't collecting the man, Allen Iverson?
I was collecting Iverson too, actually. I
Okay.
did have
I
I
just
did have
checking, just
Iverson.
checking.
I loved Iverson. Well, here's the thing, man. In '96, when they both came out,
Mhm.
Iverson came out of Georgetown,
Yeah.
and Iverson played way more than Kobe did his first 2
Number one.
years.
Yeah, he was the number one pick. He was
Right.
rookie of the
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there was more initial hype around Iverson than there
Mhm.
was around Kobe
Yeah.
because Kobe didn't have the playing time, and he was 18 years old, and
He was
so
Right.
throwing up air balls in the playoffs.
that's right. Yeah, man. Yeah. And I got to see Kobe. He came to Kansas City in his rookie year, and he actually broke his I think he broke his
Was
something
it?
on his arm in an exhibition game his
Yeah.
rookie year.
He was
And
wearing a cast, wasn't he? Isn't it one of his cards? He's actually wearing like a little black cast.
yes, yeah. And I was at that game when that happened. So it was kind of crazy.
Wow.
But then, yeah, going into high school that year, and yeah, just you get social life stuff, and then went off to college, and then got married, and so took some time off, and really didn't get back into it until like 2008, 2009, and slowly kind of started getting back into it then.
When you got back
Nice.
into it, were you like maybe picking up LeBrons, or was it like, were you mainly basketball, or what were you doing when you got back into it?
When I got back into it, it was like I said, it was vintage baseball,
Vintage
and
baseball.
which was crazy because I didn't have any vintage growing up. Just stuff that I kind of came across. Like um, I had like a just random, kind of insignificant old vintage cards that you just pick up randomly, and but then yeah, something struck me about vintage, and especially Jackie Robinson. That's really kind of what got me back in. And but then yeah, then obviously, as a kid always wanting a Jordan rookie, and I couldn't afford one, so I bought a Jordan rookie, early on, and um but yeah, those are kind of really what brought me back in.
Sweet.
Nice. So let's talk about your PC. What does it look like, and what are the focal points of your collection?
Well, right now, man, my PC, if you could see some of the cards in here, it's wild, man. It's like all over the place. But for the last probably 6 months, I've really been focusing on my Jackie Robinson run. And so I'm trying to knock that out and then focus on some other stuff. I like so many different cards, that I can get sidetracked and I just see something and it's like, um, yeah, you end up ordering stuff and you're like, why that doesn't fit with anything I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And, but when you have that broad kind of love for a lot of different things, it can be really cool and it can be dangerous too. So
Yeah, yeah, because then all of a sudden you're like, all over the place, and we've all done that at some point, because I know I did. Now I'm kind of focused in, but yeah, you get on those tangents, and sometimes it's just a card that maybe speaks to you that you weren't planning on ever purchasing, but there it is, and I'm like, you know what, I like it. I'm gonna go after it. So,
for
there's
sure,
nothing wrong with that. Just
definitely, man. And that's the thing. Like it's never with collecting, it's never totally linear because you don't know when certain things are gonna pop up too, and you're like, I'm focused all on Jackie, and then all of a sudden, like a sick Kobe card comes up that I'm like, dude, that should not be going that cheap. And
yeah,
so you got to have the flexibility there. But I know myself well enough that, man, I need to have some focus because I'm going to be all over the place. And with the market right now, kind of seeing the prices going down,
mhm,
I just want to be very intentional about what I'm buying.
Yeah. It's
So
almost like you're a kid in a candy store again. These prices, everything is available to you. There was cards that you thought were out of reach just a year or two ago, and now it's like, man, I can get that card. So, like you said, there's so many options, and it just becomes overwhelming sometimes. It's like, all right, you got to remain focused.
dude, no doubt, man, no doubt. Yeah, like, yeah. Well, so I remember in 2020, early 2021, as a hobby, a lot of us were like, man, we got to come to grips with like my collection's only going to be 4 cards
Yeah,
because
yeah.
prices are
I
so
got to
high, man.
consolidate.
It's like,
yeah,
man, I can only afford 3 cards, and so
yeah,
I got to figure out what 3 cards I want.
Yeah.
And so now, yeah, now with stuff opening back up, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, for me, man, yeah, I'm trying to be pretty focused, and then once I close the door on the Jackie collection, then I'll kind of move on to something else. So
So you got the
gotcha.
picture of Kobe behind you. Are you? I'm assuming you have a Kobe collection, correct?
I do, yeah, I do,
Yeah.
yeah. I got a decent amount of Kobe stuff. Man, I have more cards than I need. I need to kind of start to
I mean, if you want to give
consolidate
some
some.
away, I'm always here.
You got a good. That's a good charity.
Yeah,
Cousin
Cousin
Oz
Oz
always
charity.
accepting. Yeah, the mailman is always open.
Okay, always open to receive a little mail, huh?
yeah,
He's handing it out and he's receiving it.
Yeah.
He'll
yeah,
do both. Yeah, I have some. I don't have a lot of big Kobe stuff anymore, but I have a lot of Kobe cards, and
nice.
most of them are all just cards that like from growing up, and
Yeah, that means something to you.
exactly, exactly.
So piggybacking off of that, just tell us about this 1947 Bond bred Jackie Robinson and its significance in the hobby.
Yeah, man. Yeah. In fact, I have it. I've got a few different.
Nice.
Actually have all my Jackies laid out right here, right now, because something I was doing earlier. But so this card right here, the card you asked about,
Hmm.
um, this is it's a very rare card. It's a hard card to get your hands on. Um, what's significant about this card that I love is these were handed out on the Upper East Coast, primarily in African American neighborhoods.
Nice.
So they actually were not in the bread.
Mm.
These were handed out as promotional. So the workers of Bond Bread would go into low income neighborhoods and they would find the kids. And it was their marketing tactic to get the bread, into these homes. So they would hand these out. Obviously, Jackie Robinson was the idol, the hero of the young kids at that time, specifically in the inner city. And so they would hand these to them and they'd say, you guys know Jackie eats this bread right here. And Jackie's fast. Jackie's, he's
Right.
and so then they would take this home and they'd show this to their parents. And then their parents would hopefully go get them some Bond bread. But they just didn't survive. You
Mm.
know, that's what's so cool about a lot of these old cards. It's like, man, the story of who had this initially, what kid was handed this,
Yeah.
where did it go, and then how did it make it, all these years later? That's what, 70 plus years.
Yeah.
It's like there's just a story behind it. And this was a set that Bond Bread did, and they call it 47, but actually in doing some research, I think this one rolled out maybe in 48 or 49.
Mm.
So it's not one of the. There were only one or two that came out that first year, but yeah, man, just kind of crazy to think about the history of it, and they're just not. Most of them are really off centered, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
just beat up,
I
and
bet, I bet.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like we always talk about the Wonder Bread and now the Bond Bread. I never even heard of the Bond Bread until we looked at your stuff. So it's kind of crazy how all these bread companies now have these huge cards in the hobby.
Yeah, for sure, man. And there's like, I think of like the Mickey Mantle. There was the Red Heart dog food Mickey Mantle from 19
Mhm.
the 50 is that a 54 Red Heart. I
Mhm.
love that card. It's a sick looking card. It's just like a piece of artwork. But imagine, you got you're going to get some, some dog food, and
Yeah.
in that dog food bag, there's a Mickey Mantle card. And then there was like the Mickey Mantle, the 54, the Dandy potato chips. And so all these different food vendors that were trying to sell food, and
Yeah.
throwing cards in there. But then
Isn't
a lot
there
of those,
was it Jerry West? Was the hot dog? Are you guys familiar with that one?
there
Well,
was
there's the Hans Wiener. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. Like like
Yeah, Hans
Clemente has
Wiener.
that. Those are big. Those are rare cards that if you find them
yes.
real decent.
But they were like in the actual hot dog packs, right? So they
Yeah, I
would get
believe
like
so.
damaged, they'd be frozen or crazy. Like,
Little hot dog juice on it.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
not getting a PSA 10 out of there.
No,
Yeah, and
no.
that's true, man. And that's like why you'd never see any high grades of these Bond breads. It's like because some kid just had it in his hand. It's not like now, man. Like we get a pack of cards. We got guys with they got they got polypropylene
Mittens.
gloves on. The guy's got a mask on.
Yeah.
He won't
Yeah.
won't breathe on it, and yeah, it's like it's totally different, man. It goes straight into a penny sleeve, straight
Right.
into a top loader, and then straight to PSA. It's barely touched,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's why you see so many lower grades in these older cards, especially the rare ones.
Yeah. And so I collect more of the vintage. Well, I collect Roberto Clemente, so it's it's vintage stuff. And I always say, to me, it's always that story of how the heck did this car survive so long? Which kid had it? Like, because with today's stuff, I opened the pack. I know I'm the guy who opened it. There's nothing other than that, and that's it. But to think about how long these cards lasted through the stuff they went through, and even the cards from the 40s and 50s and all the stuff that's happened in the world, and these
Yeah,
things are still floating around. So it's just
for sure, man.
it's
And
wild,
they
man.
call them trading cards, man. Trading
Yeah,
cards.
yeah.
It's trading them, swapping them, handing them to one another. I mean, look, I still have this. I've had this Nike box for I don't know how long, and
Wow.
it's just got tons of. Oh, is that a? There's an eagle right there. There's a Reggie White.
Oh,
Oh,
Reggie
look at
White.
that.
There you go. Look at
Nice.
that.
Actually, everything in there, that's all Reggie White.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
cool.
But like, we just threw them in the boxes, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had like there's just random cards in here. Uh, Michael Irvin. Those are all Michael Irvin.
Nice.
Remember Action Pact?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Um,
That is,
there's a
and
there's a penny,
Anthony,
Penny
yeah.
Penny.
Hardaway. And man, like, so I get as much joy out of a lot of these. These are all cards I had as a kid.
Hmm.
I mean, you'll recognize a lot of these.
That's the nostalgia part of it. You can go
Yeah.
into that shoebox. I have the same thing over there. Oh, that's nice.
Wow.
And the shoebox, man, is it's like you got to have a shoebox. There's Marcus Allen.
Yeah,
Nice.
I had that stuff. It's crazy. Before the Zion cases, it was whatever
Look,
shoebox you had.
this has
Oh,
remember
it's got-
these? I'm trying to remember what this was in Upper Deck. 1990 Upper Deck gave these holograms,
cool.
and so I just put it
Wow.
on my old shoebox.
Yeah, it's like
That's
he bedazzled it with that.
That's right. That's right.
That's wild. Sean, let me ask you. So, in your most recent blog, you said and we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we'll get a little deeper into it. In terms of sports cards, not everything that catches your attention is worthy of your time. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, man. I think like it's when so I'm looking at a lot of the stuff specifically coming out now. We talked a little bit about like how you may get sidetracked. Maybe you've been working on something and something cool pops up, and there may be times when you get that. Um, but there's other times where you're like, oh shoot, this just popped up. You get it, it comes in, you have a mail day, it comes
Mhm.
in, and you kind of have that regret. You're like, man, that just didn't fit with what I've been doing. You sit it next to the rest of your other collection. You're like, you know, why did I just buy a Michael Irvin card? I don't even collect
Right.
Michael Irvin. Why did I just buy, a Steve Young card? And it just looked cool. And and so there's that aspect. But then I think the other aspect is, you know, especially in modern stuff, there are just so many different variations of cards, and I'm not convinced that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, those cards are going to carry a lot of significance. So I am at a place where I would rather have cards that either are significant to me because of childhood and nostalgia, or significant to me because they're also significant to the hobby and the importance
Mhm.
of what that card represents. So when I look at like, man, I love Patrick Mahomes. I'm a huge Chiefs fan, and
Okay.
I collect Mahomes cards, but he has so many stinking cards, man. He has thousands and thousands of cards. So it's like, I could spend, all my money on a bunch of random Mahomes cards that look cool, but 5, 10, 15 years from now, they may not mean anything to me, and they likely, most of them, won't mean a whole lot to the hobby. So there has to be something that kind of sets that card apart, and I think for that reason, that's why like I love vintage cards, man. Like so, um, this just came in. I bought this from Heritage um,
Nice.
not
That's
long
all right.
ago, and it took forever to get this card in. But so
So
like for Jackie
describe that
Robinson,
card.
what's that?
I said describe the card, for the
So this is a
podcast.
1949 Bowman, Jackie Robinson, and yeah, this card is it's such a cool card, that's got the kind of the deep red and the deep
Yep.
blue on his hat, and
Mhm.
um, but with vintage, there's only one 1949 mainstream Jackie
Right.
Robinson card. There aren't 100, different parallels of this card, and then five other brands, and then, parallels within those brands
Right.
also. So where Mahomes, potentially could have like 1,000 different cards from 2020, or 10,000. I don't know. It's probably closer to, it's
Right.
high.
Mhm.
Jackie only had one card. So the entire hobby, uh, when it comes to collecting Jackie, is all in the same boat trying to get just that one. There's just that one card. So while the population may seem, fairly high compared to maybe like an out of 10, when everybody only has one option for that year, it totally decrease. I mean, it makes it much more hard to get, as opposed to having thousands and thousands of different cards and variations. And so that's kind of what I was saying there.
Yeah, and even like with the Jackie too, and then there's levels to it. There's the eye appeal level, like that one you just put up right now. It's nicely centered. That's a whole nother thing where there's even less of those. Yeah, there might be. Let's just say there's 5,000 of those. There might be only 400 that look, the way that yours does. So that's a whole. That even gets even rarer as you start digging through. So
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I saw a guy that he recently did a study on different vintage runs of cards, and the percentages for a perfectly centered card was like super, super low. And so, yeah, there's just all the different factors when condition. There's conditional rarity,
mhm.
with vintage cards that, yeah, that makes it a completely different ball game than when you've got a lot of modern stuff, which I actually, there's a lot of modern stuff I really like. I collect checkerboard stuff. I love optic checkerboard, and I don't know a lot of people that are really into them. I just think they're super cool looking, um, but condition isn't really a factor with them. It's
Right.
like PSA 8 would be super low, and then
Mhm.
PSA 9, PSA 10, but you're not. It's very rarely anything under that. So
So what's your
Yeah.
process when you're looking for a vintage card? Because there's people out there, they'll just say, "Hey, I just want the card. I don't care if it's bent in half, it's creased. I don't give a damn if it's off centered, if it's half the card. It doesn't matter. Just get me the card." And then there's others like, "No, no, no. I got to be real particular. I know Tony, it has to be centered and the eye appeal has to be there and the colors vibrant." So, when it comes to you, what are you looking at there?
for sure, man. That's a good question. So back in the day, man, I didn't like when I was first getting going, I wanted to have the best, most extensive PSA 1 collection that, that money could buy, that I could afford.
Mhm.
And so, before I was able to kind of trade up and level up in certain cards, man, what I wanted to do was have an iconic vintage collection that was only PSA 1 so that I could spread myself out. And
Mhm.
so rather than, have like one or two high end, really cool cards, I was like, man, I'd love to have a 33 Gaudi Ruth in a PSA 1. And I didn't care, man, if it looked like some dude spit on it and, it had tire tracks on it and, gum and pinholes and paper loss. I just wanted to be able to say that I had it. And
Hmm.
there's something really cool about that. Um, so I don't, yeah, I don't disparage that at all, man. That's actually super cool to me. Um, I think that one thing I learned in the vintage world is that um, the better the eye appeal, the better value retention, and and the more it's going to increase in value over time. And but like, man, I have this card right here. I'll give a shout out to my boy Agazi in LA. This Jackie right here is not in super great condition, but
Mhm.
it's like it's super rare, and I just wanted the card. It's a
Yeah.
really hard card to find, but man, I mean, that it's got a crease, crease coming like right through there. I'm going the opposite way here, and
Yeah, I
then
gotcha.
there's like some, I don't know what this is. That might be snot. I have no idea what's on there, but I mean that's a fluid from somebody. I have
Yeah.
no idea what that is, but so yeah, I mean, there's certain cards where like yeah, to me, the eye appeal is actually less important because it's rare.
I gotcha.
But when I buy a card, man, now especially with vintage, first thing I'm looking for is the centering, and then the next thing I'm looking for is kind of um, the coloring and the surface, and I know there are certain cards that I've had that like when I haven't, I've been become a little more particular as a collector as I've probably like Tony,
Hmm.
you get a card and there's certain ones that you get at home and there's something on it that you look at every time you pick it up, you look at it and you're like, that annoys me. Um, and so
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid as many
That's
of
that's
the
this guy
things
over
that,
here.
yeah. So, but then there may be another time when I decide to go back and do a PSA 1 collection and just make a really cool historic collection of a lot of really important cards and try to get the most for my money, but in low grades. So,
Yeah. That so what you're saying about the eye appeal, sometimes it doesn't matter. I did exactly that this past week. I haven't even posted this yet. It's the 1966 Venezuelan tops NL batting leaders, Clemente, Aaron, and Mays.
wow, dude,
Um,
that's a hard card to find, man.
exactly. And I was like, you know what? I don't give a crap about the centering because it's hard card to find. It's a PSA 4, and I'll flash it up on the screen here, but you'll see the
Yeah,
centering is not great, but I don't care.
yeah,
So, you see it's off centered there. But it was one of those deals where I'm like, no, I want this card, and they don't pop up too often. I mean, they're there, but not, you don't see them a lot in PSA slabs. So when it came up, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get that. I'm gonna have to put my blinders on a little bit and forget about the centering, and maybe I can upgrade from here. But this is a start.
dude,
So
for sure,
yeah,
man. Yeah, and that's like, yeah. I'm more about the card first and what it is and what it represents.
Mhm.
Um, I think obviously, man, people can get hung up on too many things to where it's like, are you even having fun in the hobby? It's like you got everything has to be so perfect. It's like you're never going to find, especially with vintage, you're never going to find a perfect card. And
Mhm.
man, I'd rather have certain cards and be able to enjoy them over time. And yeah, maybe you upgrade, but maybe it just fills a spot and you move on. You move on to something else. That's a sick card, man. Those Venezuelan. I've been wanting to. There's a couple Venezuelan cards, the
Yeah.
retirados, the retired cards.
Yep. Yep.
There's a couple of those that I've been wanting to
Yeah.
add, but man, they're hard to find and they're not cheap. So
Nope. No, they're not. They are these are those if you know you know type cards with the significance of the Venezuelan issued type cards. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a start. There's Clemente ones that I want to get. I saw some at the Philly show, but they're up there, so we'll get there one day.
There you
that's
go.
cool, man. Congrats. That's a cool card. Very cool card,
Appreciate it.
actually.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
Sean. It's time to have some fun, man. So when it comes to Instagram, brother, I mean, you have some very unique content to say the least. From rapping to blogging to the hobbies, filthiest criminals, and even putting on your priestly robes and a rosary to hold hobby confessions. So, what's your creative process, bro? I'm like looking at all this crazy content. Like, what's going on in your head when you're doing all this stuff?
Dude, man, my wife thinks I'm nuts, man. Because there's times when I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it might be a funny script, or maybe just like just some idea that I get. But I've made content my whole life, and it's only been the last couple years I've really been doing it for the hobby. Um, but man, there's times you'll be in the shower and you think of something, and you're like, it'd be kind of funny to do a Catholic priest radio card show, um, radio talk show.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, a lot
that's
of
my
this stuff
favorite one.
happens. You're having conversations with your kids or a friend or something, and you're like, man, that would be funny. And then it just kind of goes. But yeah, I think like yeah, dude, it's just you don't know, man. It's just different days. You get inspired and you watch something and but yeah, it's fun to get feedback on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. So let me ask you, can we do a an impromptu confession?
I actually I have a storage over here that's got all my Catholic
Well,
priest stuff,
we,
man. You can even put it. It may take a little bit, man, but we can.
nah, well, we don't have
We
to
can
like,
make it.
we can because so here's the thing. So Oz and I we were raised, we went to Catholic school, Catholic church, stuff like that. So to me, actually, it was weird. I would see the priests outside of their, when I would see them sometimes wearing normal clothes, I'm like, whoa, what the heck? I was like, this is weird. But no, yeah, I told Oz, I was like, you know what, when we get Sean in here, I might have to if he wants to do a impromptu confession, I can definitely confess a hobby sin, and we can kind of maybe
Well, hey, man, why don't you invite the priest back, and he'll come just fully ready, and you guys can you can do a full out confession and
that's awesome. We're gonna
That
do that. We'll get on IG and we'll make it happen.
that'll be some dope content right there.
Yeah, for sure. And I even remember all my scripts and how to, all the things I was supposed to say when I went in there and walk right out and do everything all over again. So, but so anyway, so speaking of content, there's a fellow content creator now that I actually had the pleasure of meeting for the first time last week. But I was you met Dr. James Beckett. So, tell us about how that all went down and what that meant to you.
man. He was going to the bathroom at the National, and
Nice.
I kind of stalked him out of the.
Really?
I so we were both walking into the bathroom, and I think we both had to pee really bad at the same time, and we both are kind of like, and it was it was Chicago National, super
Mhm.
busy, and we both walk in at the same time,
How
and
convenient, Sean. How convenient for you, right?
and I never told Dr. Beckett that I was kind of waiting for him to wash his hands after he peed, and there to
Yeah.
kind of strategically time it but we finished, we handled our business, and we both came out, and I went up to him. I made sure he washed his hands before I offered to shake to shake his hand, but he did. Yeah, he washed his hands, and So then I just went up to him and just told him, as a kid, what it was like for me reading the Beckett, and how, really his Beckett was what kind of mentored me in the hobby early on. And so that was actually a very brief, that maybe was like maybe a 3-minute conversation. And, we talked, he was super cool. And then later on in the show, I see that homie at the dollar boxes. And so I rolled up on him and he's just sitting there and there's nobody else around. He's just, going through the dollar boxes. And there was a chair actually at this guy's table right across from him. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey, Dr. Beckett, can I just sit down with you while you go through these dollar boxes?" And
Mhm.
he's like, "Yeah, have a seat." And so I ended up sitting there for like an hour and just asking them every question that came to mind at the time. And we just talked about a lot of different things. I mean, everything from sports cards to our faith. And,
Mhm.
when he sold the company, and I asked him about what he thought about if he wanted to make a comment on what was the true Jordan rookie. And he said he didn't want to get into that, but he was a super nice guy. And yeah, man, he's obviously kind of the father of the baseball card hobby, modern hobby for sure. So it was cool.
Yeah.
And actually, I've ended up seeing him at a couple card shows since then. And I was set up at the Dallas card show, and he came and
Mhm.
was commenting on different cards I had, and we were just talking there. And yeah, he's a really cool dude. I love listening to his podcast. Learn a lot from him.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I just, like I said, I just did we do a hobby hotline. It's a podcast on YouTube, and it was the first time I'm paired up with him. I'm like, oh man, I was like, geez, this is like hobby royalty. And man, he couldn't have been nicer. Very down to earth. He's talking to me like if we knew each other forever, and we had, real good conversation. And I told Oz, I'm like, sometimes, they would bring up a topic, and then we give our takes, and then everybody kind of, goes from there. And I'd say something, and then he'd just be like, he might see it in a whole different light, where I'm like, dang, I didn't even think of it like that. And he's really, like, the way he sees things and the way he breaks down the hobby is, it's next level.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you've been in it for a long time. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, seen a lot, but then also, back in the day, he was going to these different card shows and just connected to dealers, hearing things. I mean, I was listening to one of his podcasts not long ago, and he talks about cards that he's just got raw, just laying around at the house. And it's like, he's like, "Yeah, I was thinking I got a 32 US caramel Babe Ruth and a Lou Gehrig, and they're just sitting around raw." And he's like, I'm thinking about, maybe I should grade them one day. And he's like, I'd like it to be a 6. It's probably a 5, maybe a 7. I'm like, my goodness, man. I mean, he's just thinking about, I mean, this is like, $100,000, $200,000 card.
Right.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
when
he's
you've been around for a long time, guys that have been around for a long time were scooping stuff up at, bargain
sure.
basement prices back in the day. Well, back then, it still seemed expensive, but
Mhm.
compared to
Yeah.
now, um, definitely
Now,
not.
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he like go on a mission down to like Venezuela with a couple other guys, or at least knows the guys that went down to get those cards? Those,
I haven't heard that story. I'm not sure. It
because
wouldn't
I like,
surprise me by it. Yeah.
yeah, because I listen. I When I got back into the hobby 2 years ago, I just basically started binging everything. So his podcast was one of them. His was easy to listen to. They're like 15 minutes long, so you can get through a ton of them.
Hmm.
And I don't know how many episodes he's up to right now, but I was going through all of them, and I can remember, and I'm pretty sure it was him, but either he went down, or he knows people that went down to get those cars to Venezuela, and go on like this fact finding mission to these mysterious cards,
That's
which I think is
crazy.
crazy, man.
That wouldn't surprise. That wouldn't
Like
surprise.
Indiana Jones, of the hobby.
Dude, they're like I've been looking at some old cards from different countries, and like there's some cool old Japanese cards. In fact, I just got a really cool old Japanese card. There's cool stuff from like Cuba,
Mhm.
obviously Venezuela. and then there's all the soccer stuff from over in Europe. But yeah, I think, man, there's some really cool stuff overseas that, like, because we're so kind of consumed with obviously American based cards that kind of fly under the radar, but are really cool.
Yeah.
That's dope. That's dope, man. James Beckett, he is the man.
Dr.
So
B.
let's talk some NFL, brother. You recently posted a picture of a graded Sports Illustrated featuring your man, Patrick Mahomes. Is he this year's MVP? I don't think so. I think we're heading towards a collision, of course, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. If it was up to me, if I were to say, not my Homer opinion, I'm just basing it all on the facts. To me, right now, Jalen Hurts is the MVP, and that's the way it is. What are your thoughts, sir?
Man, yeah, right now it's hard for me to say. So here it is right here.
That is awesome.
There's a Sports Illustrated. That's kind of his debut issue.
Nice.
I'm a hardcore Chiefs fan. Obviously, live in Kansas City. Mahomes all time. Mahomes right here. Here, we'll ask him what he has to. What he has to say.
Patrick has joined the podcast here. So this is
Patrick here. We're gonna put him right
here.
here.
It's the hair, man.
Yeah, it would be very, very hard for me to say that anyone but Jalen Hurts is MVP this year, just because of the success of the Eagles. He's had an amazing year. Mahomes is you take either player away from either team. I mean, that's where it's like, what team would be more successful without that quarterback?
Yeah.
Right.
I for sure know the Chiefs would be really bad without Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, like they've got a good team, but he does so much for that team. But that being said, Hurts is playing out of his mind this year, and obviously they've got an amazing record. But there's still some games to be played. So we'll see what happens, and then see what the playoffs look like. But regular season, man, yeah, I would probably have to lean towards Hurts right now.
And with the NFL, that's what it's based upon is the regular season. But like I always compare like Mahomes, like right now.
I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
But yeah, like Pat is comparable to Michael Jordan when he played. He could win it every year.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like you kind of like the NFL or the NBA, they kind of like, all right, let's try to give it to somebody else. We can't always give it to Patrick, or for one time it was like Aaron Rodgers was always getting it, or Peyton Manning. So these guys, they're just so elite. Every year they go out and they're consistent with what they do. But Patrick, that combination, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you know what I mean? You guys took our boy and he went over there and he created a freaking monster.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we love Big Red out here, man. He's awesome. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like this year, I would definitely probably have to, right now where the season is, I would pick Hurts for MVP. But if someone were to say, if I was starting a organization today and I could pick one of the two, I'd take Mahomes all day.
All day. Yeah, I'm not even going to argue that. I'm surprised of what every Sunday what I'm looking at when I watch Jalen Hurts.
I redeem myself.
Yeah, because Jalen, bro, listen, I always had a soft spot for him. I always seen him as the underdog, and when we had Carson Wentz and he got drafted, and everybody just went crazy in Philadelphia. They were like, we already got a franchise quarterback. What are you doing drafting this guy in the second round? And now you're just going to piss off Carson. He's not going to want to be here anymore. And it's exactly what happened. Carson didn't have the, what they call the cojones to try to fight, for his position against Jalen Hurts. And I always in the back of my mind is like, this dude, bro, he just, there's something about him. He just has those intangibles. He doesn't have the greatest arm, and he's not the best quarterback. He's not like a Patrick Mahomes, but I said, man, if he could just get it together and even be in the same system. We got Sirianni, and then we got him for a second year under the same offensive coordinator, and it's just like night and day from just even last year. And I can just imagine that, if we keep going this way, where he could be, his jump as far as a player, it's been amazing, bro.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I look back to when he was at Alabama, and just the um, the winning culture mindset that was already in him from high school. I mean, obviously he was an amazing high school player. Then he goes to Alabama and, under Nick Saban, and there are just certain players where they just know they're going to win, and they just and that confidence kind of flows out into the rest of the team. And so yeah, I definitely see that in Hurts. But what's crazy, so where I'm at in Kansas City, we don't see there's not a lot of Eagles games on. Like, I have to really kind of search for an Eagles game so I haven't
Mhm.
gotten to see a lot of his games. Just
Mhm.
when they've been on,
Yeah.
primetime stuff, I've seen him, but I haven't gotten to watch a lot of him. So yeah, I need to kind of catch some more games before the season's over. And
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the AJ Brown pickup, Roseman went out and picked him up, and that's just been a godsend. It's like, Terrell Owens 2.0 without the attitude. And
yeah,
he has his boy now, and then you have Devontae Smith on the other side. But AJ Brown is a freaking beast, bro. He's
yeah,
unbelievable.
he is. Yeah, he is,
Yeah.
man.
He
Yeah,
he
he is.
actually he got the GM for Tennessee fired after that game. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't even.
Yeah,
I
we played we played Tennessee, and he had like 2 touchdowns and 159 yards. He was just destroying Tennessee. He did whatever he wanted. And afterwards, immediately they fired the GM that traded him. It's like
That's crazy.
it's just funny. Like
Ouch.
How tall is AJ Brown?
the 6'3",
'Cause
right?
Something
he's a
like that.
pretty
Yeah,
big
he's
guy.
not crazy. Yeah, he's not crazy, but he's pretty. Yeah, nice size. 6'3"
Okay.
isn't pretty tall, but
Yeah,
what?
that's
Yeah, man, you got a
Yeah,
good one there, man. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a deadly combination, man. It
yeah,
would be crazy to me if somehow the Chiefs played the Eagles. I watch Travis and Jason Kelsey's
yeah,
podcast.
man.
And, it would
that
be
is
that
the
would be
best.
crazy. It would be
Yeah,
crazy. We got to get through the Bengals, man. I hate the Bengals right now. I
yeah,
don't ever want to go to Cincinnati. I don't. I just man, we're for
yeah,
some reason that team, man. They've gotten us, but hopefully we'll get some revenge on them.
yeah. That's always those thorn in the side teams that happens. This year's actually the first time I'm getting the best of both worlds, so I get to watch Jalen here every week. And this is the first year ever have Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy team. So I'm like, finally, I get to like enjoy. I used to watch
Yeah,
everybody. I'd have some crappy
Yeah.
quarterback, and now I'm like, man, and I'm like, dude, this guy. And now, I mean, he's got a lot less weapons than he had before because Tyreek's not there, and so he's even doing more stuff. And I'm like, man, this dude he is special, and it's a joy to watch. Like if you love the game, you definitely appreciate guys like that. But
For sure, man. He's all over Kansas City. I mean, he's selling you everything. There's
is he?
like, obviously, you'll see like the State Farm
uh-huh.
stuff. You'll see the major stuff that he's on. Man, he's like, his local stuff is everywhere. It's like, I mean, he's selling you diamond rings, like, just all kinds of different things. He's like
The
local banks and everything. But, you drive through town. It's just awesome, man, because Kansas City, we've never had a player like this in forever. We had Bo Jackson, who was huge for a
Yeah.
short period of time with the Royals, and we had George Brett way back in the day as a baseball
Mhm.
player, but we've never had the huge, big superstar. And I mean, this city loves him, man, and he's just a good guy. He's a humble young guy, and man, we're thankful to have him.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you got Mahomes and you got barbecue, so you're good.
That's all we need, man.
That's
That's
it.
all.
That's it. So we're heading down the home stretch here. So let me ask you, in terms of your collection and your content, what are you looking to accomplish in 2023?
2023, man. So, I'm hoping to kind of close off this Jackie Robinson collection. Um, for sure, 2023, I'm pumped to go to the National. I didn't get to go to the National last year. I could have, but I just wasn't super excited about Atlantic City. And
Yeah.
it's tougher for me to get to it, and it's like you got to fly
Mhm.
somewhere and
yeah.
you take a cab, and I don't know that area very well. And Chicago is super easy, and I love the city of Chicago, not far from me.
Mhm.
So I'm pumped to go to the National. Um, Man, it's just kind of a day-to-day thing. I don't have a specific long-term goal for 2023,
Mhm.
but hopefully we'll be, releasing more content and getting to connect more with you guys and in other podcasts and yeah, tossing around some different ideas of ways to just keep growing the hobby and educating the hobby, educating myself along the way. And um, so and then yeah, obviously there'll be cards that pop up every day in my searches, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, man. This thing that my collection and that's what I'm trying to do a little bit different with the Jackie stuff. I want to really like keep this stuff, lock it away. What I tell people all the time
Mhm.
is, the you don't know what the future holds. You don't know if your plumbing is going to break and you need to
Right.
sell a card, and so I never say like I'm buying this and that's it. Like I'm not going to do anything with it
Mhm.
because situations change. You may grow in and out of love for with a card, or you may want to upgrade. Or there's times, man, I want to downgrade a card so that I can get something else. And you don't hear people talk about that a lot, but
Right.
there's times, man, when I've got like more into a card and I'm like, man, actually, this is a PSA 6, but I could probably achieve about the same thing with a PSA 3 and put more money back into my pocket, whether it's for family stuff or whether it's for more cards into the hobby. So,
Yeah.
but either way, man, I'm excited. I think we're seeing where content is really kind of gearing towards collecting, going deeper. The hobby, in many ways, the people that have stuck around are maturing. It's becoming more about the significance to you, your collection. It's a little bit more meaningful. Obviously, there's the financial aspect, and I love that aspect, man. Like if this stuff was all worthless, it's like I don't know how excited I would be in it, and I'm not
Yeah.
in it for the money. I've been doing it since I was a kid,
Mhm.
but it's like if I go to my wife and I say, I'm messing with these cards all day long and none of them are worth anything. I just like them a lot. My wife's gonna be like, "What are you go get to work? Like go do something."
Yeah.
So that the financial aspect of it is, I mean, who doesn't like that really when it comes
Yeah.
down to
Right.
it? So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
good
you
way to
could
look
talk
at it.
all the crap you want, but at the end of the day, these have to have some value. They're gonna have a lot of nostalgic value to you, but a lot of the reason why a lot of people came in back during the COVID and things like that was to try to see what we can do and make some
yeah.
money. That's a fact.
Yeah. And anyone that was in the hobby, man, in 2020, 2021, for the most part, did well. I don't know anyone that, especially 2020 and then early
Right.
2021, um, people did well. And I think that's awesome, man. I think it's great. And I do believe there will be we got to get through some crazy global economic stuff. But if those things start to, we'll see. That's always the X factor.
Hmm.
I think we'll see some more upside in the future for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah. For
Agreed.
sure.
Now
Hey,
building off of that, basically we always finish this the same way with every person that we interview. But what piece of advice would you give a content creator or even a collector so that they can have the best hobby experience possible?
I would say create what you want to see. Fill the void. Like I know there are certain things where I'm like, man, I wish that this was out there. And then I'm like, well, shoot, it's not out there. Maybe I should just make it. Like, I want to see, whether it's funny stuff, whether it's, like telling the story of a card, things that I'm like, man, I wish right now I could go and Google a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson and have someone like in depth break that card down and tell the story of it, like what was going on in the sports world, and blend it together
Mhm.
with the card. And I would go on and I wouldn't see that stuff. And I'm like, well, shoot, maybe I need to make that. And same thing with priest confessionals, man. I just wanted to see a priest that had a Catholic card radio show, and that wasn't out there. So I just said, okay, we'll just make it.
Only
So I'd
makes
Bro,
sense.
say,
I'm telling you,
very
man, that thing is the best, bro. I like it's just because just the way we were brought up, and I just like, and I'm not trying to offend nobody. Like, it's just when you break it down to its core, it's so funny, man. But go ahead.
so I when I think of a priest, man, I think of like kind of like on a high horse, like he's a little bit above everyone, but he's also trying to be nice at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But he
Very
gets like has a
condescending
short
at the same point.
condescending, and he has a short fuse too.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
um,
our Monsignor Ursulak.
Jeez, Louise, this guy's dropping names out here.
He doesn't listen to this.
This
but that's
guy,
what I would tell
I hope.
people, man. Like, yeah, if you know, there's obviously with you guys with what you're making, you fill a specific niche in the hobby, and there's only two guys that can do what you guys are doing. So yeah, I think like people can be tempted to try to go and just replicate what someone else is doing that they see as being successful, and I don't think that's how you build a unique following that likes you for you. And so I think like with you guys, um, as you continue to kind of put stuff out there, and you stay true and unique to who you are, people are either going to like you or they're not going to like you.
Yeah.
But the more you're going after what you like, and it's genuine to you, the more passionate you're going to be about, and the more that people are going to be able to, that passion is going to be relayed to other people, and they're going to see it,
Mhm.
because you're not trying to be, whatever influencer or whoever you listen to. Because when we try to replicate someone else that's been successful, like we end up just being a cheap counterfeit of them, and then no one wants to hear us anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, man, I want to just continue to kind of fill different voids that I see, and stuff that I want to watch, because normally if you want to watch it but you don't see it out there, there's someone else just like you, and many times there's many people just like you that also feel the same. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna give you
So
two names real quick: Steve Aoki and Vegas Dave. Tell me about him.
My two best friends. Steve, you owe me money, bruh. uh, So Steve Aoki, man, and Vegas Dave. So Vegas Dave, he tried to talk us into getting all those Derek Carr cards back in the day. No, man.
yeah.
I posted about them today. You know, who knows where they are, man? It's just it's crazy to see the guys that have dipped their toes in, and were, when they were making money, they were being real loud for the hobby. And But I don't see Vegas Dave sitting around like me with a magnifying glass looking at old old vintage cards, man. I don't feel like he's got the desire to do that, man.
Nah.
But dude, you know, the hobby's big, and the hobby can uh, can withstand all the different people that come in and out.
Was it was
So
it was it Vegas Dave that ripped up the Jordan rookie
yeah, I think he burnt.
or
Yeah.
burned it?
You burned it. Yeah.
I think he burnt a fake.
That's the question. Was it real or fake?
I think I think he's not that dumb. I don't think he's that dumb. Like I think he's like made some crazy. I think he's a smart guy. Actually,
Yeah.
I think Vegas Dave is a brilliant marketer. I think he is
Yeah.
very brilliant when it comes to marketing. But I don't think. I mean, when that guy knew he could just throw that card on eBay and make some money
Mhm.
off it, he didn't burn a. That had to be fake, man. Like,
Yeah.
money's too important to Vegas Dave. So yeah.
That's true. That's true. Hey, Sean, before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you and your content and everything.
Yeah, you can find me at Victory Investments on Instagram, and the same handle on YouTube. Those are kind of the two places that I put content out. I do more on Instagram, and so if you want to get in touch with me, um, send me a DM at Victory Investments on IG.
Fair
Sweet,
enough. So,
sweet.
like I said, let's hook up for that confession. Look for a video coming soon, and we'll
Yeah.
make it happen. But I'll kick its
I'll
odds.
get
But hey,
my white baptismal outfit. You can get your robes and your rosary, and Tony can get his, and we
yeah,
can really do a whole big scene there. I think it'll be dope.
That's awesome, man. We'll do it. Hey, man, I'm honored to be on. This was fun, man. We got to definitely do it again.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We got to
absolutely.
get a probably another round table. Maybe we could get Rob on here, and maybe the internet connection. You said you got your internet connection fixed now, so be
For
dope off
sure,
the
man.
hook.
For sure. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll definitely do it. I would love to, man. This was fun. I
Yeah.
appreciate you
Yeah, I
guys.
had a lot of fun chopping it up, man. These are the kind of interviews that I like. You're well engaged. You know how to do it. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. I don't know if you've ever been there, but this
For
this was
sure.
fun, man. We appreciate everything you do, and we're looking forward to that content. So that's it. Tony, you got anything?
I'm good, brother.
Excellent, excellent. So we're just gonna finish this like we always do, and that's keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.